for our morning talk is none other than Mira Alexis Ofreneo. Dr. Mira Alexis Ofreneo is an associate professor and former chairperson of the psychology department of the Ateneo de Manila University. She is currently the director of the University Gender Hub, the Center for Gender Responsiveness, Inclusivity, and Safety in Ateneo de Manila University. Dr. Ofreneo has a PhD in social psychology and an MA in counseling psychology. She is a teacher, researcher, psychologist, advocate, and feminist. She works on agentic and transformative research, practice, and interventions to build communities free from gender-based violence and inclusive of LGBTQIA plus people. In 2013, Dr. Ofreneo received the prestigious Father Jaime C. Bulatao SJ Award for the teaching of psychology, which is conferred by the Psychological Association of the Philippines. And now, let's welcome Dr. Mira Ofreneo. Hi, Ma'am Mira. Welcome po.
Hello, and thank you, Junix, and thank you, Pat, for having me today. And I know we're quite pressed for time, but relax lang po tayo. And we hope to be able to take in as much as we can uh, in a safe learning environment. Hopefully, we can all be kind to each other also and during this hour. No? So I know I have the hour with you, and I'll try to keep it to 40 to 45 minutes so we can have some space for questions. And before I start, is it okay if I ask those with um a video or like a camera, if they can just turn on their camera to just wave their hand or say hello, like kahit po mag-emoticon lang tayo ng heart-heart dyan, just, can we just see each other for kahit 1 minute lang po? Let's say hi. Hi, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you. Hello po. Hi. Say hello to people. Oh, yan. Hello, thank you for opening your camera. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today. Oh my gosh, it's Saturday, post-Christmas. And before we end the new year, we are here. Thank you, thank you. Hello to everyone. Say hello. Take a look at the people who you are with today. Take a look at yung walang camera. Siguro tingnan na lang natin yung mga names, no? We are 339 people in this Zoom. 339 people. Imagine niyo kung parang physically magkakasama tayo, we would be siguro in a huge lecture hall. 340 people na merong sumama ulit, no? Baka nag-break. But say hi, hi. I'm so happy to see everyone. So happy. No? And one of the things, no, I just wanted to start out with is this idea that as teachers, no, and especially now that we are teaching online, we're doing hybrid classes. One of the challenges is how can we connect through this medium? How can we try to make a connection kahit hindi natin nakikita yung faces and yung mga, so if we can, as much as we can, no, let's try to start always our classes by trying to make that connection. No? And I hope kahit yung konting waves natin at nakita natin yung mga mukha natin, we felt na, oh my gosh, I'm with 340 people right now watching. We are separate. We are alone individually, no, in our own physical space, but we are trying to make a connection here. And the hour that we have today about building positive relationships in school is about this. It's about connection. So thank you so much for agreeing to turn on your camera. Is there a rule ba, Junix and Pat? Is it okay ba if they stay on cam? Or
Yes po.
is it a problem naman? Is it okay?
Okay lang po. Yes po.
No? So kung cool naman kayo na maging on cam, no? Patingin-tingin. Pwede, stay on cam and it would be great because it's always like, one of the things I do also as a teacher, no? Is that I try to imagine if I'm holding class online, that I'm trying to imagine we are in the class physically together. And then I try to imagine kahit wala akong nakikitang face, kahit naka naka-name lang, no? Kung minsan wala pang name, no? Wala pang makitang picture, no? I try to imagine the person. And I try imagining, sana I am able to reach this person. Sana I'm able to connect to this person. So one of the things I do, it's like parang sige, sharing na of secrets, diba? Parang sharing of secrets today kasi as teachers, no? And I've been teaching almost 25 years, I think, kasi I'm getting my 25 years of service from Ateneo next year. And sometimes even as 50-year-old person, I still get nervous going to class, no? And I'm trying to think, the question I always have, no, is not whether matututunan ba nila yung lesson, but will I be able to connect with them? So sometimes when I get so nervous, I say a little prayer going into class, and I pray and I say, allow me to connect with the students today. Or I do a little meditation and I say, please allow me to connect. Or I tell myself, this is for my students today. Or I say, okay, for this hour, this is for La Arnie. This is for Josefina. This is for Christine. This is for Rowena. I put myself into that moment. This is not for me. This is not about me. This hour is about my students and it's about my class. Okay? So that is what we will talk about in an hour or so. And I will try to now present my screen. I hope I will do it right. Yes. Do you now see my screen? Tama ba, Junix? Yay! Marunong na ako mag-Canva. Okay. So, and the presentation, again, siguro bear with me, no? Kasi like, when I accepted this invitation from Junix and Pat, I was thinking, oh, what will I talk about? You know, because like, I'm not really, I wouldn't say that I'm, how should I say this? I'm part of the Gender Hub. What we do in Ateneo is really to create a safe learning environment, a safe school, a safe classroom. So I will share a little bit about that. No? But as Junix and Pat explained it to me, no, the framing of this session is in positive psychology. No? And I'm here to talk about the letter R in PERMA. So aligned with that objective, I will begin with an introduction linking the R of PERMA into our conversation today. What is the R? What is building positive relationships? Which for this session, I will frame as acts of connecting. Human connection. In the end, what are we doing in class? What is a classroom? It is a teacher connecting to students. It's students connecting to the teacher, students connecting to each other as students. Teaching is human interaction. Classroom is a human interaction. And how do we build those connections inside the classroom? That will be the focus for today. So for today, I've divided the session into like parang 4 parts. The first part will talk about this. What are some things we can do? Ito na yung mga advice sa atin ng mga positive psychologists, positive psychology practitioners on how to build positive relationships. And then I will anchor on a few concepts like safety, well-being, care. No? And then towards the end of that, I will share a little bit about Father Wu, because as we know, Father Wu, among the pillars of Philippine psychology, and in the PAP, as one of the founding parents, no, as one of the founding fathers, si Father Wu yung attributed as being the excellent teacher that he was, no. And so sa kanya naka-name yung ating teaching award that I'm thankful to and honored to have received, and also acknowledging that Junix for this year was the recipient of the Father Bulatao Teaching Award. No? And And I wanted to share a little bit, some stories about Father Boo. No, and for that, we will go deeper into the meaning of connection, into the meaning of care. And we will talk about loving kindness, and we will talk about love. Is it possible that we as teachers can really love our students? And what does that mean? So that's the first part. Okay. So siguro mga 15 minutes yon or 20 minutes. And then I'll go and transition to a second part about what is now parang has become popular, no, this concept of holding space. Nanood ba kayo ng Wicked, no? Kasi maraming mga mga references or referencing to hold space, no? What does it mean to hold space for our students? What does it mean for a teacher to be a safe space for students? So I'll go to that will be the second part. And then we'll take a little bit of a pause, siguro just a minute break. And then we go to the third part where I will share some insights from the work of Sherry Turkle, who is a psychologist, also a sociologist, no? And Sherry Turkle wrote the book Alone Together, no? Referring to this seeming phenomena that we now have where we are connected online. And yet, why do we feel alone together? And then how do we bridge that connection again? So she writes another book called Reclaiming Conversation. And the last part, I will end, no? And because, well, sige, as a feminist psychologist, no, I will end with Carol Gilligan, no, which you may have heard as having critiqued the moral theory of Kohlberg, no, Lawrence Kohlberg, and critiquing yung bakit justice ang mas mataas sa relationships and harmony. And that's so important to our topic today, no? And so we will go and return to that, yung ano ba yung work ni Carol Gilligan on A Different Voice. And what she writes, no? In 2018, she co-authored a book on the crisis of connection. So then I will end in the fourth part with some ideas from Carol Gilligan, who says that the response to our crisis of connection is a feminist ethics of care, or an ethics of care, a human ethic of care. Okay, so I hope you're still with me, no? And again, thank you for those who are keeping their cameras on so I can kind of like, oh, wow, I'm talking to one person. You know, sometimes in class when we're doing online, especially during the pandemic, I'm thankful for that one student who keeps their camera on for the whole hour. At least may kausap ako parang isang tao na nakikita ko yung mukha niya. Usually yun yung Beadle. Pero, you know, I'm thankful for my Beadle. But like, again, no, this is part of the human connection. And the challenge of how can we connect again na wala yung interface, kung walang physical or in-person connection. Okay. So let's start with this idea. Sorry kung medyo compact kasi I tend to have a lot of things to say and I tend to go over time, but I'll try to stay on time na. But let's start with the R in PERMA. So, syempre, nag-RRL ako, no? Kasi sabi ni Junix and Pat, this is positive psychology. And I had to like immerse myself in the positive psych literature. And no, yung mga guides on what this means. But I wanted to highlight a few things. Kasi yung positive relationship, pag nilagay mo, no, I'll go in a little bit into our siguro Filipino psychology rin and Philippine context. Pag sinabi mong relationship, sige, let's do a check Let's projection lang, projection. What comes to mind? Automatic thinking lang What comes to mind when you hear the word relationship? Automatic writing, lagay niyo yung mga words na lumabas. Projection lang to projective technique. What comes to mind when you hear the word relationship? Meron bang willing to share? Mag-unmute. Ano yung word na lumabas? Unmute lang. Pwede ba yun, Junix and Pat?
Pwede po.
Pwede.
Sige. Sige, anong words nyo, Junix and Pat?
So far, ma'am, parang yung nilagay ko rin connection, a lot of people also said that two people, love also is something that comes up here. People, friendship, mutual understanding,
Okay.
social battery. Yan po, yung mga
Thank you so much. And thank you, Junix and Pat. I will ask for your help to kind of read what comes out on the chat. That is great. Those are examples, no? Parang when you think a relationship, love, commitment, two people, right? Mutual understanding. Or maybe hindi naman intimate relationship, no? Or hindi romance, but pero friendship, right? So what came to me is that when we unpack positive relationships, sa Pilipino, ang relationship, nakaangkla siya sa intimacy, sa intimate relationship. So ang iniisip natin una is romantic partner, intimate relationship. Kaya baka nga pag sinabi kong what is a relationship tapos ang mga words baka it's complicated, parang mutual understanding ba to or ano ba to? But also that it can be friendship or we link relationship to family. Pero yung relationship in our positive relationships sa English, no? Kasi hindi siya, parang I have a sense na may disconnect dun sa word na relationship pagdating sa atin, no? Sa Filipino context. Ang meaning ng relationship is not the romantic kind, but it's a matter of human relating. Hindi rin natin ginagamit yun. Like, anong human relating? We're not, but relationship begins with relate, the word relate. How do we relate to other people? And the assumption of positive psychology is that positive relationships can be built in all of our social interactions. How can we make our relations with other people, not just our family, not just our friends, not just our romantic partner or intimate partner, how can we make them positive, no? Quote unquote positive. I-unpack din natin yan. And the ask of us is, can we do that in the school setting? Can we do that in the classroom? Can we do that with our students, with colleagues, with everyone? For today, we focus lang muna in the classroom because as teachers, we are relating at most of the time to our students. And what I wish to present today is that the R in PERMA, positive relationships, that R of relating, maybe a way of defining it is these are ways of connecting. These are acts of connecting, one human connecting to the other. So the question I will have for you is, how do you relate to other people? How do we relate to other people and how do we connect? How do we build these acts of connection? So for a short moment, may mga exercises dito habang nagko-converse tayo para mas interactive tayo. Just with what you have, your piece of paper, can you remember a time when you felt safe? Or just reflect on your own, And we'll try to engage in this collective exercise. At mahalaga to dahil, to me, one of the things I hope that you will take away from this session is that we are constantly reflecting as teachers. So ang pinakamahalagang asset ng teacher is their personhood and their capacity to be self-aware and to exercise self-reflection. So ito yung una nating exercise. Have you felt safe with another person before at any moment? Do you remember that time? Kahit sino yung kasama ninyo, no? So, hindi siya confined, hindi defined. Recall any moment when you felt safe. And can you make a note? What made you feel safe in that moment? May ginawa ba yung other person? What was in that moment that made you feel safe? And that leads us to the question of, what kaya does safety mean for you? And safety ba is physical? Safety ba is psychological? Safety ba is emotional? kung minsan, no, we encounter people when we hold what we call safe space conversations, and they get surprised by this question because they've never reflected on what makes them feel safe. Why is this important? Because as teachers, we might encounter students who actually feel unsafe in school, but they actually sometimes don't know that they already feel unsafe. Maybe unsafety means feeling excluded, feeling bullied, feeling left behind, feeling hindi siya makakope. Maybe this sense of unsafety has to do with their mental health concerns or issues. So recall a moment naman when you made the student feel safe. May lumapit na ba sa inyo na estudyante na nagsabi na, thank you po, ma'am, or thank you, sir, thank you for making me feel safe in class. Okay. So keep those answers with you and carry them in the next segments, no? Because one of the things we want to anchor on is this idea of safety. Sabihin na natin psychological safety or emotional safety. And we need to unpack that because may mga call na ngayon that, oh, the classroom has to be a safe space for all. Meron na ngang the school is a safe school. Meron pa ngang the city is a safe city. May mga call ang mga UN agencies, no, na let's adopt this safe school framework, no? So what we are arguing for here is that when we say we want to build positive relationships with our students, we need to create a safe learning environment. How can we make our students feel safe is our question for ourselves. And if we don't have that answer, maybe one of the ways we can know is to ask them. So maybe at the start of the school year, at the start of the semester, we can ask them, is there anything I can do in class to make you feel safe here? And for example, when I start the semester in the, what do you call that? Kung minsan yung Google Classroom or yung learning management tool natin, in our case, we're using Canvas, no? One of our first modules, I would put there, what is a safe space for you? How can we make this classroom a safe space? And sometimes you'll be surprised that students, some of them are very particular about what they need. I need to feel recognized here. I need to feel I'm accepted. I hope that the class will be understanding, will be patient. So meron silang idea ng what is safety for them. And why, again, is this important? We link that because to be able to learn, people first need to feel safe. How can you learn if you feel unsafe? So that they can learn, and of course, so that they can be well. Okay. So we advocate for creating a safe learning environment, this safe school. And this means we want the classroom and the school to be free of harm, any kind of harm. That means we're also sensitive to the issues that students encounter. Are they free from bullying? Are they free from sexual harassment? Are they free from violence? Are they free from ridicule? No? Meron bang nag-shame sa kanila sa school? Are they free from exercises or practices that can be harmful? And we want to attend to the needs of our students so that they will feel listened to and heard. And are there spaces where students can speak up, where we can listen to them, where students have a voice, and where their voices are respected and valued? And so part of what we're doing here is to think of well-being as one of the things we need to think about as teachers. We're not only looking at students in terms of learning and their academic performance. No, we are also looking at them in terms of their well-being and their mental health. What's interesting is if we focus on well-being, that will also lead to learning. Ito na yung sobrang daming literature, di ba? Na nakita natin. Na mahalaga that our students are mentally healthy so that they can learn. Right. And this tells us that our students, we are to be mindful to see them as learners, not just as learners, but also as persons. To see our role as teachers as facilitating learning as well as facilitating their care. And so in my mind, relationships, yung R sa PERMA, is also acts of caring. Acts of connecting, acts of caring, making our students feel supported, valued, and loved. So I'll share a bit of a story, no? So may mga storytelling din tayong konti. And I'll start with a story, two stories of students, no? And because I'm also in the Gender Hub, we encounter a lot of the concerns of our students who belong to our LGBTQIA+ community. Some of them identifying as transgender, some of them identifying as non-binary. And just to start the context of that storytelling, no? Some of you may not, as I say this, some of you may not be familiar with what is transgender, what is non-binary. No, may ganun ba? No, and it is not uncommon that we would hear sometimes students, teachers say, pwede bang simple na lang, no? Parang ang hirap pang intindihin eh. But letting you know that people's gender identity is very important to them and for our students. And I'll share you one story where one transgender student, no, in one class, no, came to us saying na it's been so difficult for them because their teacher refuses to use the name they wish to be called by, their live name or their chosen name. So, sabi niya, bakit hindi sabi nung teacher, I will only call you by your legal name. And then the student kept saying, but that makes me feel unsafe, no? Sabi niya, when it comes to being addressed by my dead name, I am at a loss of words on how to explain this, how to help people understand what it feels like to be called the wrong name. And then they start narrating about the feeling of anxiety, the distress, the disparity between how I look and my dead name, the discomfort. Tapos yun lang ang ask niya ha, I am humbly asking, may I be recognized by my chosen name? Hindi ba parang napakasimple lang? Ito ang pangalan na gusto ko at ito ang pangalan na ginagamit ko. Pwede bang tawagin mo ko sa pangalan ko? And that might seem trivial, but it is so important and meaningful to our students. And I will share you a story of another student who said that what has created so much, let me just find the mark there. Another student naman shared na, I am so grateful. I am so grateful. Sabi niya, throughout my stay in Ateneo, I've always been known by my name, my chosen name. And being seen as myself has brought me an extraordinary amount of joy. It has given recognition to the student, recognition for who they are, and a sense of feeling safe, feeling secure, feeling recognized. So that's what we're wanting for. That's what we're wanting for our students to feel cared for, to feel supported, valued, respected, included. Ito ang interesting ha, sa positive psych literature. This second line that says, a sense of belongingness. Do our students feel that they belong? Do we make them feel that they belong? Do we tell them that everyone is welcome here in my classroom? You're all welcome here. You belong here to this class. Because that sense of feeling safe will help them learn. So let me digress a bit and share a little bit about Father Jaime Bulatao. No, you can see here on the slide, I say love, 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 because sobrang favorite talaga niya yung love. Talagang every time you see him, and kapag when he's encountering any student, you know what? I met Father Boo, he was already quite old, no? But during the time I was a student and I was studying, I was taking my MA and then eventually my PhD in Ateneo. Oftentimes, he will just sit dun sa department. Uupo siya dun sa may pintuan. Nakaupo lang siya dun sa sofa. Tapos, kahit sinong taong pumapasok, babatiin lang niya. Tapos kuminsan may mga estudyante, uupo, tatabi sa kanya, tapos kakausapin lang niya. Kahit hindi niya kilala. Kahit hindi niya kilala yung estudyante, kahit hindi niya yung estudyante. But he was just so welcoming of people. So loving of people. Kaya palagi niyang sasabihin sa mga tao, love, love, love. I love you, I love you, I love you. How can a person say that? No, of course, Father Boo was also a priest. He was a Jesuit. And he was a psychologist, and he was a teacher. He was my teacher. No? And I will share with you two stories about Father Boo. No? And one comes from Dr. Emily Wag, no, who was also one of his mentees, no, eventually one of the chairs of the psychology department in Ateneo. And Dr. Emmy Liwag would share that one of the things Father Boo gifted me was loving kindness. It was his loving kindness and generosity. He nurtured and cared deeply for us, his students, and even also his clients, his patients, his parishioners, his family, the department, psychology, Filipinos. Talagang yung love, no? And sabi niya, Father Boo believed in me even when, or especially when, I did not believe in myself. Can you imagine that? Sabi niya, Father Boo is the exemplar of cura personalis, which is care for the whole person. A teacher who seems to know you better than you know yourself and lets you discover your best before you know that you even have a best. And I share this sentiment because as a student, I always talk about what he taught me. And that teaching is connecting. Kaya I return to Father Boo because this is what I wrote naman about him. To me, he was like a teacher that connected with every student, with everyone. It's like there's a light, no? The light, that metaphor, it makes you connect to him and he connects to you. That's what I remember most of him as a teacher, that ability to connect. I share that with you, hopefully to also inspire you to learn more about Father Boo, but also to share what Father Boo has shared to us as his students. That teaching, that being a psychologist, and that being a teacher of psychology, one of the things we are to model to our students is love. And this is what he says. He says this, so this is a quote from his book. He says, so what does it mean to be a teacher? It becomes important for the teacher to be truly human and in close touch, pupil pa yung tawag niya sa student, with the pupil's humanity and background. As the story goes, the question, what must the teacher know to teach one, is Latin. Answer, he must know one. Sobrang dated nung example, no? Kasi Latin pa yung tinuturo at saka one pa yung tawag doon sa estudyante. Pero ano yung point nito? Kung gusto nating matuto yung ating mga estudyante, we need to know our students. let's know the students. Let's know our students. And so some of the things we can do as acts of loving kindness is to intentionally get to know our students. Know their perspectives. Pakwentuhin natin sila. Alamin natin kung anong kailangan nila. I-welcome natin silang lahat, no matter what their background is, no matter what their identity is, include natin sila. And let's build that trust, that care, that respect, that empathy. So some of the to-do, mga small things to that we can do. I'll just read through them. Para siyang script. What can we do? Let's welcome our students. Greet them. Do we even greet them? No? Do we even take time? Hello, hi everyone. Let's say their names. Tapos tanungin natin sila, oh, do you have any inputs to the class? Can I ask for your help? Para collaborative yung classroom. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to really know your perspective. So we're also mindful. Wait, I can share my own perspective, but I cannot impose on them. And I will welcome and respect their own. Let's also show genuine interest in our students, how they are. Let's understand their needs. Let's ask them, kumusta ka na? And check in if they need help or support. Small things. Small things. Accepting students. Ito, isa tingin ko mahalaga, no? Accepting students even if we may not fully understand who they are, where they are coming from. Can we let go of judgment? Can we put it on hold? Can we trust that they know who they are? Can we trust that they know what they're doing? Why is this so? Kasi ang laki ng impact natin sa estudyante natin. One thing we say, one thing we do, matters to our students so much. Yung mga words of praises natin or affirmation means so much to them. But also, when our words are not as affirming, when our words come across as judgment, so that we end with some ideas of maybe let's be aware of our own biases, be aware of our power as teachers, and our capacity to make a difference in the lives of our students. Okay. So we transition, we're moving to the second part. Oh my gosh, no, syempre yung time check. And let's do a little bit of reflection again. Hanggang 3 lang naman tong exercise ng reflecting. Recall a time naman when you felt seen or heard. Kailan mo naramdaman na ikaw ay lubos na nakita o narinig? This will be a maybe baka emotionally triggering, no? So, if masyadong mahirap, okay lang. We can let it go. You can just take a pause or take a break. But if kaya, recall a moment also when you felt unseen or unheard. Naalala mo ba yung time na naramdaman mo na hindi naman nila ako narinig hindi naman nila ako nakita? May mga ganun bang moments? What makes you feel seen or heard? As well as what makes you feel unseen or unheard? So, tinatanong natin to kasi tatanungin din natin ulit kung paano natin malalaman if our students feel seen or heard in our class by us. So again, this self-reflexive exercise, we begin with ourselves. How do we know when we've felt seen or heard? How do we know that others are also feeling seen and heard by us? So the second part talks about holding space. As I've said earlier, no, there is now a call, no, let's be a safe school, let's be a safe city, let's be a safe space. As a teacher, are we a safe space? And what is this practice of holding space for students? That in that moment, while we are having class, we will offer them an opportunity to be seen and heard fully. And in those moments, I remember those times when I felt that in my own class. And I remember how students also shared that experience. I remember this one time, I was about to end the semester, and I had written all my students a letter, which I felt I owed them because they had given all of their personal stories to me. And in response, I shared my own personal story. And I also shared my response to their personal story. And so each of them received a personal letter from me. And I remember this one time, as I was distributing the letters, that I had a student who just suddenly cried in class. And she was just crying and crying in the middle of class. And you know what the students, the classmates did? They just stayed with her. So it felt like that the entire class was holding space for her and just allowed her to cry. Just allowed her to cry. So that is a moment, no, that we shared as a class where we all felt that in that moment, we were attuning to each other, attuning to this student who needed to be seen and heard. And this attunement, no, yung holding space, parang mag-tune in ka. It's an attunement na, okay, I will now tune into this person. I will now connect to this person. My entire mind, my entire body will now connect to them. No? And this attunement is not just thought level, hindi siya cognitive lang. It is emotional level, it is gut level. Kaya mararamdaman mo siya sa katawan. I feel for you. I feel with you. I am with you. Especially for those teaching courses that are highly, reflexive, that require students to reflect about their own personal lives. No, pag nagtuturo ka ng understanding the self, pag nagtuturo ka ng general psychology, talagang mararamdaman mo, no? Can we hold space for our students? Offer them unconditional support, no judgment, no control, just a full opening of ourselves. And so, the ways by which we can hold space is to shift our attention. Yung sinasabi ko kanina, okay, this space, this is for Mirma, this is for Jessie, this is for Joey, It's like in this hour, this 2 hours, this is for them. You put yourself in doing your own ritual, doing your own preparation as a teacher. How do you do that? That as you enter your classroom, I will shift my attention. This is the time for my class. For them. It is a reorientation away from ourselves so that we can be fully present for our students. The state of being fully present allows us to embody empathy, affinity, connecting deeply with another. So again, some tips, creating this safe environment, allowing people to speak, allowing our students to speak without judgment, listening to them attentively. And if it becomes difficult, knowing that it's okay. If people need to cry, it's okay. Can we hold those emotions? Not to shut away or not shy away from the difficult conversation. And let's hear what the other person is hearing. Let's feel what the other person is feeling. Let's try to understand where they are coming from, not just cognitively, but also heart to heart. Practice empathy. And I like this quote, no? So all of these things are coming from different references, but this one source that talks about holding space as a container for liberation. That in that moment, when you give people a space to be seen and heard, they feel hope. They feel that they can live their lives, that they can transform. No? That sense of feeling empowered to create a new story for themselves. I really love this. Being a container for liberation. Imagine if your class, psychology of liberation na tayo, no? Imagine if your class can be that liberating for our students. Okay. Hinga lang tayo. Hinga muna. Sige. I know it's 11:38. So we move to the third part. And last reflection for everyone. Thinking now of our students and reflecting about us as teachers, how can we make our students naman feel seen and heard? Do we know? Do we know that we are hearing their voice, not our voice? Do we know? How can we make them feel cared for? Respected, valued. That message, yung messaging na you matter. Mahalaga ka. Kaya ba natin to make them feel loved? You deserve to be loved. How can we make our classroom a safe space? This will be our last set of reflections as we go to the third and fourth part. So these parts will be short compared to the first two parts, around 5 minutes each. I'll share a little bit lang, some insights from these two key thinkers, psychologists, social scientists. No? So Sherry Turkle, most known for this work, this book she entitled Alone Together. And what she describes here is a sense of loss that in this online world, it's not to say that, it's not to be anti-technology or anti-internet, no? But it's to also talk about what we've lost in this process. And let me share some lines from what she says, no? So here's an example of some work she did, no? So she was interviewing, so galing sa empirical research din niya. She was interviewing children, and there were some children who would say, who would describe that moment. So this is Sherry Turkle. So the children I interviewed described that moment at school pickup. Sinusundo sila ng parents nila. And then the children will say, the children will never tell you that they care, but they describe that moment where they come out of school looking for that moment of eye contact. And instead of that moment of eye contact with the parent is looking at their phone, looking at their iPhone, looking at their smartphone. This is an example, no? One story that shares our children are learning that we can all be on our gadgets, we can be on our laptops, we can be on our phones, and we don't need to meet eye to eye anymore. We don't even need to look at each other. And sometimes it is so common that we will drop a conversation. We're talking to each other, to a friend even, no, or to a student, and then wait lang kasi merong lumabas na message, and you tune out of the conversation. Instead, you message, you text, you answer your phone. So she's saying, we have created a culture of disconnection. So this generation of children who met technology competing with real life connection. They now have to live lives in a culture of distraction. And what do they tell me? They tell me that they sleep with their cell phones. When you take our phones away from us, we become anxious, we become impossible, really. Modern technology has become so much a part of us. And she says, we have all this mobile connectivity. We're all connected, di ba? The devices are always on. Hawak natin lagi yung telepono natin. But it means that at any time, we can get out, bail out of what is happening in front of us and enter our phones. Go to a different space, a different world, a different conversation altogether. So connectivity offers so much, but it creates the illusion of companionship. And that most people now would rather text than talk. And so she says, we are continually connected. We are continually connected. Yun yung connection, yung online connection. And yet, we are also vulnerable because we are no longer, especially the children, especially the younger generation, are no longer learning what it means to connect as friends, what it means to really feel intimacy. And so she concludes, we are continually connected online, and yet we are alone together. She wrote that before the pandemic, Matagal na niya sinulat yon eh. But it was her critique based on her empirical research of what is happening to us during these digital times, the digital age. And in a book that she wrote later on, she said that the answer is in reclaiming conversation. So she says, this is the challenge for institutions and individuals. That means schools. That means teachers. Let us restart conversations. She says that, yes, we don't have to give up our technology, but we have to return to the conversation because it is essential to our humanity. To the disconnections of our overconnected world, I argue that conversation is the talking cure. We have to help our students talk to each other, talk to us, and we have to talk to them. Where can we create spaces for conversation in our classrooms, in our classes? That it's not just lecture, ideas. We also open, alongside those ideas, spaces for conversation, for human interaction, for connecting, so that they can learn how to be connected, how to feel kindness, how to support each other. This is something for us to reflect about because this is now our world. As someone who was not born into this technology, who was not born with internet, this is not my world. My world is in the physical space, and I can drop my phone and I can stop looking at the internet. But the young generation, the younger generations, our students now who are 16, 17 years old, and especially the younger ones, they are born into this world. And we need to help them converse, to help them talk. There is another crisis that we will speak of. And this is a different crisis that Carol Gilligan speaks about. No? I'm almost about to end. No? So this also is a book that came out in 2018. No? So also before the pandemic. She calls it The Crisis of Connection. And this comes from developmental psychology. We all know Carol Gilligan, no, as critiquing the Kohlberg's moral theory, saying, why did you put justice above, relationships, harmony? When we know that oftentimes women are associated with care and men are associated with independent vision, seeking justice. And this is what she learned. Sabi niya, and she will end not with the difference between men and women. She will end with the recognition that society has created that difference when it should not be so. Okay? That's the ending of this. Meaning, she heard how women have been socialized to think that they should care for others. She so much that people think caring is a women's uh is a is the responsibility of women alone. But what she says is that in the end, it is not. It is a human responsibility. So she starts with this, no? She had this listening project, listening to women's stories and women's voices. And she says, I was struck over and over again by the power of the opposition between selfishness and selflessness that shape women's moral judgments. I would hear women call whatever they wanted, yung para sa sarili nila, selfish. The women in this room, think about that. Pag para sa sarili, selfish. Tapos sabi niya, and they will say, but if it's for others, and what others want them to do, that's good. That's being good. So women have learned and have been socialized to respond to the needs of others, to be empathic, to be caring for others, and yet made to think it is selfish to respond to themselves. Kaya sabi ni Audre Lorde, sabi pa niya, si Audre Lorde tulo. Si Lord lang pala. Si Lord, sorry. Sila, I'm a liability, di ba? Pero sabi ni Audre Lorde naman, no, because self-care is an act of survival. So, sabi ni Carol Gilligan, it made us think that women have a different voice. If patriarchal yung framework mo, caring is a feminine ethic associated with women. But outside that framework, in a democratic framework, care is a human ethic. Tao sa tao, kapwa-tao. That feminist ethic of care. And that is what she asserts. Care is not just a woman's issue. It is a human issue. It is not justice versus care. No? If we want to think about injustice, we also need to think about care. And so she asserts, we might associate justice to men and associate caring to women, yung feminine. But this makes us think that men have the license to become careless. But isn't it absurd to say that men don't care? And that women are not invested in justice? Her point is that women and men care and can care. And that caring requires paying attention, seeing, listening, responding with respect. Things that we have been talking about this whole hour. Care is a relational ethic. An ethic of care is a human ethic, a human issue. So she ends, no? She writes, in Joining the Resistance, no? Interesting, no? Ang title ng book niya, Join the Resistance, meaning let's resist injustice. Let's practice an ethics of care, where she says, an ethics of care, essential yan sa human survival, because if you see an infant will not live without care. An infant will not live without care by adults, by the humans who have power over the child. Interesting nga, may isang project on teaching empathy where what they do is put a baby in the classroom. Because putting a baby in the classroom will make all the children want to care for the baby. So caring is essential to human survival it's tied to the human life cycle that we all need to survive. It is tied and grounded on voice, on hearing each one, on listening each person, and hearing each voice with respect, attending to the needs of everyone, responding to the needs of everyone. And that is where I will end. I wanted to end with a story of me as a young teacher and teaching psychology. And I always remember this story that I have now. I'll start with the I don't need friends. I had this student who was uh, a young man, sabi niya. Tapos, hindi siya sumasama dun sa ibang classmates niya. So, parang mag-isa lang siya lagi, isolated siya lagi. And then when I asked him and checked on him, sabi niya, I don't need friends. Sabi niya, I don't need friends. And I was so curious by that because I've never met a person who said he don't need anyone else to live, right? And tapos yung semester, throughout the semester, nagre-reflect siya, ganyan. So what I did in that class is, okay. I introduced him to other young men in the class na mag-isa lang. So sabi ko, magsama-sama kayo. Parang ganon, ano? And then, by the end of that class, that student would come up to me and say na, I need friends pala. Not that way, no? But he could feel pala. But it's just that his whole life, he had been taught not to feel and not to connect with people. But allowing those spaces that they can connect changed him. And so I'll go to the story of I am not wanted. I always remember this because as a young teacher, this had such a huge impact on me. I had the class, and sometimes magulo yung class, and I noticed that they would exclude a particular young man. Yung young man na yon, kung minsan magulo siya, no? So para siyang bully. Para siyang bully. And then I thought that siya yung bully tapos binubully niya siguro yung ibang classmates. Kaya siya nilalayuan. So palagi siyang mag-isa, palagi siyang iniiwan. So one time I thought, kausapin ko kaya tong student na to. So after class, I would check in on him and ask, kung ano ba nangyayari, kumusta ba siya? And you know what I found out? Is that hindi pala siya yung bully. Kundi siya yung nai-exclude because he feels so sad inside na ang lumalabas lang sa kanya, puro anger. And when I asked further during sa reflections namin, sabi niya he had always felt unwanted because he thought that his parents never wanted him. And so during the semester, one time, he would share with me that he really wanted to die. And there was this one occasion na he was already, sorry for the graphic imagery, no? So he was about to do it. So he had set up a rope in his room. He had put a chair out. And so he was about to stand on the chair. No. And then his phone rang. Nag-ring yung telepono. So stop siya. Bumaba siya dun sa chair. Sinagot niya yung telepono. And it was a friend who said, gusto mo mag-games tayo ngayon. So instead of committing suicide, he went out and played games with his friends. I wanted to share that story because one, that showed such an impact of how friends are so important and social support is so important. And the value of talking to people. And that at the end of it, after that semester, this student eventually, in our conversations, was able to talk to his parents. And the parents were able to tell him that no, he is wanted. So this student later on would return. Siguro 5 years after or so, nakita ko siya. Nag-drop out siya ng Ateneo. Hindi siya nakakope sa school. But then he found what he really loved to do. And he became a chef. No? So, but it struck me and he wrote me a letter 5 years after or so. And that letter stays with me. And I have kept that letter. Tapos, yung letter niya, may kasamang gorilla na toy. Yung stuffed toy. Tapos sabi niya, ma'am, this was me. When everyone saw a gorilla, you saw me. So yung gorilla na yun, nandun pa rin sa lamesa ko hanggang ngayon. Tapos sa loob nun, nandun yung letter niya. So I wanted to end with that. And I hope you're all okay here. I know, malapit na mag-lunch. Pasensya na, medyo nag-overtime. But I hope if you have questions or stories to share, please do. Thank you.